Welcome to Tom's Guitar Show. I'm Tom. They call me Guitar Tom because I'm often seen with a guitar. And they call me on the phone and ask me what my show's about. And I say, well, it's about an hour. About guitars, guitar playing, all things guitaristic. So, once again, this is the last Tuesday of the month. And the last Tuesday of the month means we have the show live from Uptown Bill's Coffee House here in the corner of South Dubuque and Lafayette, Iowa City, down by the railroad tracks. Perfect place to put a performing venue, a TV studio, and a recording studio right up the street. I can hear a train whistle right now. I can hear that whistle blowing, looking down the line. Anyway, okay. So anyway, if you're out and about, you know, you should come down to South Dubuque and Lafayette here to Uptown Bill's and join us in the studio audience. So I should probably play something. I love harmonics. All right. So originally I was going to bring actually 6 guitars to this show. And I was going to do this big thing, and I was planning on it, and you know, as time goes by, I get lazier and lazier and lazier. And so I brought 1 guitar, this one, just go down. But I will say next month, we're going to have a 7-piece band called the Chameleons. And are they all women?
Yeah, John Lake occasionally sits in, but yeah.
The occasional man will sit in, but
right.
The chameleons, okay. Well, maybe I'll sit in. I could be the occasional man. But anyway, there'll be string basses and accordions and things, at least I know, and all kinds of wild stuff. So we'll be doing that next month, the last Tuesday of September, yeah. So anyway, okay. So Bob, you want to read something for us? You always welcome your pearls of wisdom here, and you've got a microphone.
Yeah, I thought I'd look into a few rumors about Iowans.
Okay. All right.
See if we can't dispel some of these.
This is okay for a family show, though, right?
Well, yeah, I'm going to have to edit a few. But
okay.
It's probably not true that the governor's mansion burned down and took out almost the whole trailer camp. It's probably not true that the toothbrush was invented in Iowa because it would have been called a teeth brush if it had been invented anywhere else. Probably not true that the legislature was going to change the drinking age to 25 to keep alcohol out of the high schools. Probably not true that you can spot a married Iowan because there's tobacco stains on both sides of his pickup. Might not be true that Iowa State alumni hang their degrees from their rearview mirrors so they can use handicap parking. It may not be true that there was a power outage down at Iowa State and 30 students were stuck on the escalator for 3 hours. Probably not true that there was a fire up at the football dorm that destroyed 20 books, including 15 that hadn't been colored yet. May not be true that there's no CSI in Iowa because there are no dental records and we all have the same DNA. Now they were wondering how many Drake freshmen it takes to change a light bulb, but that's a sophomore course. And the difference between a Cyclone and a Cheerio is that Cheerios belong in a bowl.
Bowl games, Cyclones, football team.
It's not true that rectal thermometers have been banned in Iowa because they cause too much brain damage.
No, that's getting close.
Yeah, maybe on that I should step away.
It's getting close to the
stand behind the camera.
I heard that idiots. Iowa stands for idiots out wandering around.
Yeah, every time I go to Illinois, my brother-in-law tells me that.
Well, he's Bob is from Peoria, Illinois, so he smile when you tell these jokes. That's what I say.
Well, I've been here 30 years. I'm an Iowan now.
I'm actually not a native. I moved here when I was 6 months old. I just made that up, of course. It's put some, so I was just tremolo some chords, and I wasn't thinking about it until I got into it. But see, the looping is almost like cheating, almost. So anyway, this is kind of a special show, in that both my brothers came down tonight, and one brother, he could come down more often. The other one actually lives in Germany most of the time. So how long have you been in Germany?
About 21 years.
21 years.
Actually, 24 altogether, I think.
If you count your days back in Tübingen
Right,
and everything.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you're almost a German, almost.
Pretty close. Yeah.
But they,
Introduce my camera.
you want to get the mic? And, well, go ahead, get the
Well, I'll just say hello then. I'm not going to
I offer you could read something if you wanted, but
read the phone book though. So, hello, I'm Alan, Tom's brother. Nice to meet you.
yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. So he's well, welcome back. Good visit and everything. So it's your first Tom's Guitar Show in quite a while, I would think. So.
It's been a couple of years, yeah.
Yeah. I had your kids on, or came down to help out with the cameras one year when they were.
That's right. Yeah.
When they were kids. Now they're all grown up and everything.
They're 24 now.
24. Okay, well. And my other brother Pete is here. Peter, you want to come up and read something? Yeah. Since he's want to save time for a couple other readers, and then young Tom, of course. I always give him the short end of the stick, and I want to give him a complex, but he's more spiritual if I forget about him. So.
I love Bob's Iowa jokes.
Yes.
You know, like Fox News, they would preface it by "some say." You know,
Some say.
You know,
Yeah.
But it reminds me. A few years ago, I'm a recording engineer, and a few years ago, I had a choir, 14-voice choir, come down from St. Paul, Minnesota, to do a recording in Iowa. And the first day, it was like they'd heard all these Iowa jokes and really totally believed them. The first day they walked into the church and they're just sort of looking around like they're in the middle of some steaming swamp someplace. And by the end of the week, their minds were totally blown. You know, like we have gay bars, we have sushi, we have
In Iowa, we call that bait shops.
yeah, bicycle lanes, and
Actually, we're a lot like Minnesota, aren't we?
well, I think we have got some things on Minnesota. You know, we have marriage equality.
We have marriage equality. That's right. Anybody?
So their minds were blown. They heard the Iowa jokes and they were totally convinced that was real.
I know this thing. I knew a guy. I was in Minnesota and I was in a car with a guy who had heard all these Iowa jokes and stuff, and he believed them. And he had gone. He said he was. I said, "Have you been to Iowa?" And he said that he had been to Iowa once. Actually twice. He'd driven down Interstate 35 to go to Kansas City.
Right.
And so he'd driven through Iowa
Right.
twice, and that was,
Right. That's like I've been to Las Vegas
Yeah.
on my way to Washington State by air.
Yeah, I see.
What do you got in a kind of a sea chanty? Stump the Guitar Player. This is a poem published in 1913. Poet's name is Alfred Noyes or something like that, who was very popular in his day, and he wrote these kind of old-timey, even for 1913, scenes. So picture this. This is the Song of the Wooden-Legged Fiddler. I lived in a cottage down in the west when I was a boy, but I knew no peace, and I took no rest, though the roses nigh smothered my snug little nest, for the smell of the sea was rarer to me, and the life of a sailor was all my joy. My mother, she wept, and she begged me to stay, anchored for life to her apron string, and soon she would want me to help with the hay. So I bided my time, then I flitted away one night of delight on the following spring, with a pair of stout shoon and a seafaring tune and a bundle and stick in the light of the moon. Down the long road to Portsmouth I strode, to fight like a sailor for country and king. And now that my feet are turned homeward again, my heart is still crying, ahoy, ahoy! And my thoughts are still out on the Spanish main, chasing frigates of France and Spain, for at heart an old sailor is always a boy, and his nose will still itch for the powder and pitch, till the days when he can't tell t'other from which, nor a grin of the gun from the glint of the sea, nor a skipper like Nelson from lovers like me. Now that I'm old, I'm as bold as the best, and the life of a sailor is all my joy, though I've swapped my leg for a wooden peg, and my head is as bald as a new-laid egg. The smell of the sea is like victuals to me, and I think in the grave I'll be crying, ahoy! For though my old carcass is ready to rest, at heart an old sailor is always a boy.
Very nice. Of course, in Minnesota, they got Michelle Bachmann.
We got Stephen King.
They got Stephen King, yeah.
She's from Iowa, though.
Yeah, she's originally from Waterloo, but
Yeah.
we wouldn't have anybody like that around here anymore. But we got Stephen King, though, and but that's Western. That's almost Nebraska. So. Well, the joke I heard was what would happen if the top tier of Iowa counties, excuse me, the bottom tier of Minnesota counties would secede to Iowa. The per capita IQ would raise 10 points or something.
In both states.
In both states, yes. We're going to play some music too. Would you like to get up and read? Since I mean,
Sure.
You know, they'll play something. We'll have some more music, and then
Okay.
after that, it's every man for himself, and the women can.
Okay, well, I wrote something related to a topic that Tom suggested, and it's about resolutions and starting a new academic year. And have you talked about your new venture at Coe College? Do you want to say a little bit about that?
Well, I just got a job up at Coe College in Cedar Rapids, and Banjo Dave, who's been on the show a few times, told me this one song that they sing. It's like, if you can't get into college, go to Coe. If you can't, I don't think that's true. I was up there today in the business office, and I saw my little room that they're giving me. I'm teaching classical guitar at Coe College, part-time.
So part of the theme was starting a new
That's what I was
venture.
telling you. That the thing is that we make our New Year's resolutions around here. We should make them at the end of August rather than in the middle of the winter, because
Right.
there's nobody around on January 1st, and everybody's like, people have headaches and stuff. It's not a good time, but
Right.
now is the time to make our resolutions. So.
Yes.
We're all scraping our windshields January 1st.
That's right.
And that lends itself exactly to what I wrote. Resolutions in making a new start are not limited to just the new calendar year. Whenever a new venture is started, a new job, partnership, business, or personal, nurturing a new life, starting at a new school or a new academic year, it can be a time to reflect and improve. Since the new school year has started, here are some traditional New Year's resolutions adapted for the school year. Many people focus on improving their health at the new year. For example, I resolved to lose weight from my backpack by getting rid of those pesky textbooks. Get more sleep by turning off my alarm clock and missing class. I resolved to exercise more by running to class when I'm late because I overslept. I resolved to stop smoking. Oh, not me, my POS car that belches blue smoke whenever I started. Quit drinking on Mondays before 6 p.m. Or resolve not to drink anymore, but don't drink any less either. Eat healthier and diet by switching to Miller 64. Personal enrichment and fulfillment is often satisfying. Resolutions like, I want to get out of debt by the time I'm 50. Learn something new, like, why is Silas Marner considered classic literature? Get organized by buying folders and keeping them in a drawer with the original receipt and then throwing them away in May. Reduce stress by dropping my class load to 3 credit hours. I should say that most of these are from the student perspective, even though we talked about Tom being a teacher. Most of these are meant to be from students. Help others and volunteer more. Offer to turn in the final group project in exchange for putting your name on it. Have more fun, like count the number of like times the word like is like used unnecessarily, like in a conversation you heard like on the CAN bus or something. A more active social and love life is bound to make you happier, right? I resolved to fall in love with Beowulf. Spend more time with family and friends by putting off homework that much longer. I resolved to enjoy life more by spending time with friends and family when I should be in class, thus fulfilling the previous resolution. Travel to new places, like Mickey's Pub and Grill after it's done remodeling. Resolve to meet someone new when I'm sober. Remember that some resolutions may be broken, and it takes real dedication and perseverance to renege on all your resolutions.
Very good, very good. I may be a teacher, but I have to deal with undergraduates, and I know. But believe me, I know their ways. And, I teach lessons in town, and I say the people who, the college students are the least dependable. The only thing is now, I can threaten them with a grade. You see, or threaten them a little bit anyway. But. So, would you like to play some music?
Sure.
Let's grab something.
What should I bring?
Well, bring it all. We'll do it all. We'll do it all. We're going to do a little. My brother Peter here. We're going to do a medley. Long ago, well, we're going to do a few songs anyway. Long ago, when we were mere boys, we used to play together. Music, that is. We were. No,
That's just scratching.
Patrick, okay. Sorry, might kind of very interesting if it's upside down. But anyway, we used to play. I remember we had a bedroom with really high ceiling when we lived in France when we were kids, and he had his recorder and I had my guitar, and we used to play stuff together. So.
You want to do one of those?
Sure. Want to do that one?
Well, since you brought it up.
Oh yeah, let's
Sorry,
Yeah, play it up there. So this is a song that was on French television. It was a theme song for some serial show, Lumière Violente, and it was, I guess it was something about spies in South America or something. And I remember the American guy had an accent. Il parlait français comme ça. But he always had, he was like CIA. He always had like helicopters and things. He always had all the good stuff, you know. But anyway, so this was the theme song that we kind of played by ear. Whatever year that was, 40 years ago.
Could be, yeah, more.
More than 40 years.
Yeah. All right, let's see if we can remember it, huh?
Eins, zwei,
So if you did.
I remember that one. I remember that perfectly.
Remember that show? Yeah.
It was 40 years ago. I still remember it.
He was there too, my other brother. I don't know if anybody's watching, but we're having our family reunion here, so we're reminiscing about. That was a long time ago. A lot of water under the bridge. Yeah, sure. Let's do another one. Let's do.
Do you want to do Vitali?
Let's do Vitali.
All right.
Oh, I've been charged to play Pachelbel's Canon in D for people's wedding processionals, and they really can't get into all the variations. You know, they just want to hear the But apparently, he copped a lick from a guy named Vitali sometime before, right?
Right.
It's in C. I know it's in C. I got it. I got to play in D. This one's in C. Okay, so Pachelbel was in here. We'll put it back here. Pocket bells, and this is in C, so I just...
Okay, well, I should probably tell people what this is if they don't know, and my brother has never seen this. Have you ever seen this?
I have no idea what that is.
Yeah, right. Well, nobody actually does. This is called a Kai electric wind instrument, and it's a digital synthesizer. Which is played like a woodwind instrument. That's pretty much it.
If it feels good, do it.
Yeah, really. I'm going to put a couple more buttons. And the sound comes out by my feet, so I can sit down again.
Yeah, go, you do whatever you want, that's fine.
So Tommaso Vitali, so this is late 17th century Italian. This is like the first generation of music for the violin, before which the violin was just this scrappy little dance band instrument that nobody took seriously. So this is really kind of an interesting point in the history of music. The violin, which of course is now this, you know, the quintessential classical musical instrument, was just starting to turn up in serious use.
Yeah.
And this is a piece, just basically a set of variations on 8 chords. You play the 8 chords and I play the variations.
Yeah.
And you'll know, if you've ever heard any classical music at all, you'll know the chords.
Right. So the violin was like a fiddle for low-rent dances and stuff, and the viol, of course, was respectable. But the only viol that's left over now is the string bass. And that's, I mean, you can have your gambas and maracas and stuff, but they're historical instruments. Let's face it, they're not. I mean, they're not happening now. You know, like the string bass, you can get a job in a combo. That's the last of the viols because they have the sloped shoulders, right?
Yeah.
The cello has like a, you know,
Square shoulders like a violin. Cello is a bass violin, but a double bass is a
double bass viol.
double bass viol.
Yeah, so it's a viol. The viols are dead except for, I mean, museum pieces and early music buffs.
Antiquarians like me.
Yeah. And early music buffs. And string bass, which I almost brought tonight, a string bass. I was going to...
I got a piece for you for string bass sometime. We'll talk about that later.
Okay, well, cool. Anyway, great. I like the string bass. But anyway, so that's cool. This is close to my heart because at one time, see, guitar has been made fun of quite a bit. And I walk into a school of music with my guitar case, and people look and say, "What's that? A banjo?" You know. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Maybe the banjo will be respectable in the next century.
500 years?
Maybe. Maybe only 4. Okay, I'm sorry.
All right.
So, how fast do you want to go? follow along up there, and, so I know when to stop. Because after a while, you just... There was a Petula Clark song over that. Don't sleep in the subway, darling. Don't sleep in the pouring rain. La, 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 la.
I think you may be simplifying the chords a little bit. You could be right, I don't know.
So anyway, that's how it went. I mean, that's
Okay.
part of that. We'll have to look it up. Next, we'll do a whole Petula Clark show.
There's a really good idea. We're done with them.
After I've done about 800 shows, I guess. And see, I try to remember how long the show has been on. So it was 1994. See, now we're reminiscing here. So, you want to do that other one, that last Mist-Covered Mountains of Rome, since we're in the neighborhood? We've got to get Skopinski up here to read his thing, too.
Why don't you do a reading?
All right. Well, why don't you come up and read something, and we'll do the Mist-Covered Mountains of Home. Come on up,
Well,
Mr. Skopinski's
it's
here.
a little on the long side. I don't know, not really.
How long is it? Or?
Well, it's hard to say. We'll just have to play
It's
it by ear.
first-
Do you have a lot of readers though for tonight, or?
It's a family show. Well, wait, it's just you, and then a young Tom out here who's had his heart broken so many times. But
All right. Well, we ran a little long tonight, but.
we'll make sure we get you on next month. But
Well, we'll see what we can do here. The thing is, the topic is so interesting, I really get kind of into it. So this is the fruit of, once again, you assigning your crew homework.
That's right.
Go do some research. You've mentioned this instrument on your show several times. Well, when you do your introduction, the tromba marina.
yeah, yes.
Okay. Very.
They thought I was kidding. But never mind. Go ahead.
And it's just a fascinating instrument, and it really, the gentleman who wrote this article, and I'm not going to read the whole article because it's copywritten and you should go online and read it. His name is Dwight Newton, N-E-W-T-O-N, and if you research his name and maybe his name plus tromba marina, you can find his article. But it shows you how, if you can get interested or enthusiastic about something, the lengths you'll go, how it'll lead your life. So I'm going to read just some excerpts from this. He begins his article called "The Tromba Marina, a Study in Organology." My own interest in the instrument began around 1968 as I was leafing through Bessarabas' massive catalog of the instruments in the collection of the Boston Museum of Fine Arts, and came across entry number 292 showing a remarkable example of a tromba marina with a concise yet thorough description thereof. Then he goes on to say how his interest in music and musical instruments grew, and then he says, "After boring all my friends by telling them everything I knew about this weird instrument, I was convinced to do some serious amateur research in the subject. Since I was living within a short walk to the excellent music library at Northwestern University, it was a fairly simple matter to gain access to a great deal of information from both primary and secondary sources. Upon discovering some of the limitations of that library, so Northwestern's not equipped to fully handle the tromba marina, he says, I managed to make a short trip to the library at the University of Illinois in Urbana for further research. At this point, I felt it necessary to formalize my studies and to broaden my musical background, so I moved to Florida in order to earn a degree in music history at New College. From the moment I heard about the thesis requirement, there was no question as to the subject matter I would use. This paper represents the ultimate goal I had in coming to New College." So this is the paper that he has online is basically the undergraduate thesis he did. He also points out, this is, as far as online articles, this is probably the most detailed, but he mentions a book that even trumps the article. It was written in, or at least published in 1991. It's called A Trumpet by Any Other Name, History of the Trumpet Marine, and that's by Cecil Adkins and Alice Dickinson. So maybe I'll track that. I'm sure they have it here at the music library here. So what kind of instrument are we talking about? He starts to describe the instrument. The tromba marina has had a long history of abuse, even while commonly in use. And following the death of its only significant virtuoso, M. Jean-Baptiste Prin, it was relegated to the indignities of obscurity, finally coming to rest in storage in Cheshire farmhouses and among museum curiosities. It must be said that there has never been a shortage of information. Indeed, no scholar of European organology worth reading is unaware of the tromba marina. And perhaps I should say here, organology is a musicological term. It means the study of instruments, not specifically organs like in pipe organs, but all instruments. Basically, the tromba marina is a long, 4 to 7 feet, bowed monochord. And I gave I gave them a picture of a 20th century practitioner. It's a black and white photograph, and it's going to be a little stretched on screen, but it'll give you...
They're showing it down on TV now?
Yeah, if they're catching my cues here, I kind of talked to them beforehand.
So
Phil, if you could please get that picture up on the screen that I had Jared pull up for me. The string passes, okay, so bowed monochord, meaning there's one string, the entire length of it. The string passes over a nut from the peg box and runs the entire length of the instrument to be fastened in some manner to the bottom end. A bridge, and this is important because it has to do with the unique sound of the instrument, is set under the string near the base. The bridge is peculiar in that the string rests on only one of its two feet, while the other foot of the bridge is allowed to vibrate freely against the soundboard. So when the string is vibrating, it's basically vibrating this bridge up and down against the soundboard and gives it this kind of raspy trumpet-like quality. And another interesting thing about it is you're basically playing overtones. It's not like when you're playing the guitar, you're pressing down when you stop the string. You're actually varying the length of the string, and that's one way to make different pitches. But the tromba marina is more like the way you would play an older trumpet. You don't really vary the length of the vibrating ear. You're using your embouchure to coax different overtones out of it. So the tromba marina is the same principle. So that's how they can get an entire scale out of one string.
Harmonics, you mean? Like,
harmonics,
like
yeah.
this.
Exactly. Speaking of trumpet music, yes.
Yeah, exactly. That's the same thing. It's like a trumpet. Okay, that's great. This is great. This is very informative. Keep going. This is getting exciting.
And actually, can you hand me my water? Should be right over there. It's hay fever season, and Sudafed kind of dries you up a little bit.
Oh boy.
Some contemporary accounts of the tromba marina. Gloranius, who is a historian, I believe, of some sort, or a music theorist, said, "I had to laugh at this device of men. I had to laugh at this device of men. The instrument produces a more nearly agreeable tone at a distance than it does close at hand." But then the article goes on to say, Gloranius's comments are not entirely derogatory. Upon personal inspection of one of the street musicians' instruments, he discovered that the main defect in the players lay in the players rather than the instrument. At length, he quotes him, "At length I found that they had difficulty partly because of inexperience in musical matters, since they do not know how to divide the spaces with other than a thick finger." So he's probably, it depends on who's playing it. Excuse me.
This is a common problem. Yes, I spring anything, especially guitar players, believe me. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Another expert. And then the author goes on to say, "Furthermore, one would not necessarily find it insulting to say that about a natural trumpet, since because of its volume also sounds better at a distance." Another authority is quoted as saying, and this is Mersenne, says, "It imitates the tones and the songs of the ordinary trumpet so well that there is almost no means of distinguishing the one from the other." And then another expert named Randall Holmes tells us, "Those that are skilled in playing upon it, they will counterfeit the sound of any kind of music, whether wind or stringed instruments, principally all sorts of the sounding of a trumpet." And I should say here too, I guess the word tromba marina, obviously because it sounds like a trumpet, so that's the tromba part. Marina, they think because it had the shape of maybe a marine trumpet, the kind of trumpet that sailors would have on board of ships for calling out great distances. But the etymology is not 100% certain. There's actually one of the countries where it was used, particularly with street musicians, is in Poland. And in Poland, the word marina nowadays refers to a bass. So they're not sure of the marina part of it. But certainly the tromba is because of its similarity to a trumpet sound. The great Jean-Baptiste Prin, what Paganini was to the violin, Dragonetti and Bottesini to the double bass, Prin was to the tromba marina, honored and esteemed as its last but greatest virtuoso. And Prynne was born in England in 1650. However, his ancestry had recently immigrated from France, so they say that in both speech and appearance he was more like a Frenchman. He wrote a memoir, and he said his first instruction on the tromba marina was in England. All of the instrument was little known there at the time. And he was about 17 years of age when he played expertly for Pepys, who wrote the famous Pepys Diary, who gave first-hand accounts of London at the time. Prynne was also a dancer and a comedian, and he died at the age of 92. He handed over his manuscripts and his instruments to the Académie des Beaux-Arts in Lyons, and then I guess the tromba marina was promptly forgotten. In his old age, Prynne sensed the ultimate disappearance of the tromba marina, and his final written words were, "I tenderly love this instrument, and it is with sorrow that I see it die with me." And finally, I'll give just a paragraph here. This is the account of Samuel Pepys, who heard Prynne play in London. "To Charing Cross, there to see Polichinelle, but it being begun, we in to see a Frenchman at the house where my wife's father last lodged, one Monsieur Prynne, play on the trompe marine, which he do beyond belief. And the truth is, it do so far outdo a trumpet as nothing more, and he do play anything very true. And it is most admirable, and at first was a mystery to me, that I should hear a whole concert of chords together at the end of a pause. But he showed me," so I guess he went up and talked to him after the concert, "that it was only when the last notes were fifths or thirds, one to another, and then their sounds, like an echo, did last so as they seemed to sound together." So it sounds like he's describing some kind of an arpeggio. "The instrument is open at the end, I discovered, but he would not let me look into it. But I was mightily pleased with it, and he did take great pains to show me all he could do on it, which was very much, and would make an excellent concert, 2 or 3 of them, better than trumpets can ever do, because of their want of compass." So there's an interesting personal account. The gentleman in the picture, if we had a chance to show that downstairs, is a gentleman named Francis Galpin, who I think is some kind of a cleric who in 1933 wrote an article for Music and Letters called Monsieur Prynne and His Trumpet Marine. And the picture has Mr. Galpin with the tromba marine, and you can see how big it is. Another source of this would be YouTube. If you plug that into YouTube, there's really not much. You'd think that by now there'd be a lot of enthusiasm for this strange instrument. But you can see, I did see one YouTube thing where like an amateur instrument builder was not getting very good results, and he was kind of dismissive about it. But there are other YouTubes that were medieval and Renaissance musicians are actually getting some nice results out of it. But it's worth hearing because it's a very strange sound. And the other thing you'll learn too if you go to YouTube and search tromba marina is that apparently in Italy that's the word they use for, it's a meteorological phenomenon, a water spout. So you're going to drop a bunch of videos about tornadoes over waters because of the
tromba marina.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll have to talk about this more on your studio show.
Let's do it next week.
Maybe we can find a local person who plays tromba marina.
You know anybody plays tromba marina?
Well, funnily enough, I know all about the tromba marina. And you mentioned this definitive book is by a guy named Cecil Adkins, and he was the father of a childhood friend of mine. So, I mean, we all knew about the tromba marina, you know, about the sort of J-shaped bridge that would buzz against the soundboard and, you know, has a single string. And, like, let's see, you play it with the bow. The bow is up here and you finger it down there, is that right?
You finger harmonics down there, yeah.
And it's enormously long. But in the old days, they were different lengths. And I suppose you could even play different sized ones together or something like that.
Yeah, I've seen other pictures where somebody is actually holding.
Right, angels. Angels hold them. And but you didn't say the other name for it, though. Nun's fiddle. It's called the nun's fiddle, presumably because nuns, you know, sisters in the convent, would be very undignified if they wanted to play trumpet music on the trumpet. But this thing, of course, is a string instrument. It's made of wood and sort of more gentle, and so they could play trumpet music on the.
So did you ever actually see one?
No, I've never actually. I don't think I've ever seen one in the flesh. Well, maybe, I can't remember. I don't think so. But it's funny, you know. Does anyone around here play one? Well, if anyone did, that would be me. But I'm afraid I don't. So sorry.
Yeah, somebody's going to have to show one eventually. I would say that in the old days the trumpet didn't have valves, so it was just a horn. You know,
Just a big tube.
Like a bugle, basically.
Fold it up any way you like, right?
Well, they have reasons for folding them. People have confided in me, but I used to hang around with trombone players too. I don't know, but anyway, we should play this song. We're almost done.
Right.
And young Tom, there may be time for you. We're going to play this song real quick.
Right.
Like that.
You want me to just do what we're
Oh, you're
going
going to do that. We have a plan. Okay, go ahead.
We have a plan.
There's a plan.
A, B, A, B, A, B.
Okay.
A, B,
A, B, A, B, A, B, okay. A, B, A, B, A, B.
Okay. So this is how it begins.
Hey, Tom, you want to come up for a bit? I think your clock is slow, so we have a couple minutes. Does anybody know what time?
We got about 7 minutes.
We got 7 minutes. Is that enough time? Well, come on up. Come on up. Go up to the podium. And, you can tell us what or whatever. And I want to give you your chance, you see, because here's a little tradition here. I always ask Tom if he wants to read something, and then we always run out of time at the end of the show.
We're a little late, so good night, folks.
Yeah, that's right.
That's all a joke. Well, we're always delighted that you're here. We wish you'd come more often. I know it's a lot of work to get everything set up. The wires come up through the floor, and
I have to go with the camera crew. That's my problem. It's crap.
Yeah.
It's kind of heavy, so.
Yeah. So, but we're delighted. You know, we haven't said anything about Uptown Bill's in about a year, and every show behind you there's a picture, and the guy with the beard is Bill, for whom this place is named. His name was not Uptown Bill, but Bill Sachter.
Yeah.
And Bill came from Minnesota in the early 1970s after spending about 50 years in a big old state mental hospital. And he came with the guy on the right in the picture. you're right if you're viewing the show. And that's Barry Morrow with the tie. And Barry and his wife Bev moved to Iowa City. Barry was offered a job here. And this is a lot smaller town than Minneapolis. It was even smaller then. So the question was, what's Bill going to do? What emerged was a little tiny coffee shop, really no bigger than a closet originally in North Hall on the university campus. And in the beginning, Bill would roll out a little coffee cart and say, coffee shop's open, but you couldn't really get anybody in there. Then they moved into a bigger room where it still is, and it's been there since 1975. Barry thought it would be nice to write a little story about Bill, because this was, he called it as kind of a triumph. And the story turned out to be Barry's first screenplay. And it became a movie for television in 1981, and the picture is the promotional picture for the film Bill, which was shown right here in, at Hanshaw Auditorium before it was released on television. The actors, again in this picture, Mickey Rooney played Bill, and that's a very young Dennis Quaid, and he played Barry in this film. And then there was a sequel a couple years later, and in that film the same main characters, and there were also minor roles by Lyle Lovett, he sang a song, and Helen Hunt, who played a social work student who tries to teach Bill to read. Bill died, unfortunately, shortly after that, but the School of Social Work kept the coffee shop. And about 10 years ago, this idea emerged about having a bigger, badder Bill's that would have not only the coffee shop, but a bookstore and the performance venue, the stage that you're on, and some other things, again, as a place to involve individuals with disabilities and raise up the idea of abilities awareness in the community. And that's Uptown Bill's, and that's where you are each month on the last Tuesday of the month. Mm-hmm. So that's in brief the story. We have lots of live music. I think I said to you before the show that we've suddenly, or gradually, somehow, become an important venue for touring artists as well as local people. And on Labor Day, we're going to show some of this off. If you see the show before Labor Day, we have music all day on Labor Day, starting at 9 in the morning and going till dark. A different band every hour.
Wow.
The first band, only half of the band could come. It's a local band, Pennies on the Rail, and only half of them would come at 9 a.m. So they're calling themselves 2 cents worth instead of Pennies on the Rail. But local and some touring bands as well, all day. And there's a fair and flea market across the street, and it happens to be Uptown Bill's 11th birthday. So we hope viewers will come, as well as those in the audience. And you're also invited to bring a cake, or cupcakes, since it's our birthday. We'll have a special cake table and people to tend the cakes. Make sure that no one takes an entire cake, but just takes their fair share.
You could have like a cake fight.
We could. We're trying to avoid that.
I would think so.
Because
cleaning would be terrible.
You have to clean it up. Yeah.
Yes.
And then also this event on Labor Day, which is Monday, September 3rd, marks the beginning of the Bill Sachter Centennial. Bill was born in April 1913. And so we're planning a big party on Saturday, April 13th, 2013. And between now and then we're having one special event each month. And the first one is on Labor Day, big Labor Day extravaganza, fair and flea market. And then we're going to have the next thing is a theatrical production called Good Evening from Uptown Bill's.
Our credits are probably rolling.
Our credits are rolling now? Oh, well, I better do that.
All right.
Well, thanks.
Good night.
Thanks everybody for stopping in. We'll have a picture of Bob rolling up. played this song before. I think we're clear now, but don't anybody say anything obscene. What?
That ought to hold.
I thought you only played that song for us.
No,
Shocked to learn otherwise. Just shocked.
Shock. Well, no, I play that
Back up on the bridge. There I go.
I play pretty much twice a week, every week. 50 weeks a year.
That's a lot of time.
So I'm well rehearsed. Anyway,
Thank you. Thank you all.
starting to get
Thanks for the history.
Little bit. Every now and
well, now I gotta turn it
Yeah,
off.
no, I had known parts of that, but not the full.
then the long playing.
Yeah. Yeah, well, or that the pieces fit together, how they fit
Okay.
together.